I've been watching a lot of JW Broadcasting episodes lately. For those who may be unaware, JW Broadcasting is Jehovah's Witnesses' monthly TV show that everybody is expected to watch. They put it on every streaming service. It's even an app on Roku boxes. They're doing their best to keep up with technology, as they've done since the beginning. So let's take a look at the latest JW Broadcasting episode. Strap on. In. Jesus, where'd that come from? Let's get into it. Before we get into it, I want to mention a couple of things. If you like the work I do and you want to see me continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, there's Patreon. That's probably the best way. I also sell shirts and stickers and mugs and stuff on Teespring. And finally, you can check out my other YouTube channel, my podcast. That's where I talk about subjects I feel I can't discuss on this one, for one reason or another. I usually catch people up on the latest cult news. Anyways, give it a look if it sounds interesting to you. Okay, let's get into the video.
Jehovah provides for his people just what they need at the right time. Truly, he is with his people. Brother Lush, I know you have some thoughts on this.
I'd like to talk about a very common expression in the Bible. The expression is, I am with you.
If you've been watching me for a while, you'll remember I did a couple of these debunks recently. In last month's JW Broadcasting episode, I made note of the fact that they all talk like robots, and it's creepy. I gave like 3 examples of Jehovah's Witnesses talking like robots. Well, here are 2 more examples. I don't know the first guy talking, but the second one, Brother Loesch, is one of the governing body members. Jehovah's Witnesses have traveling overseers called circuit overseers, who visit congregations within their circuit every so often. That's basically all they do. They go from kingdom hall to kingdom hall, giving public talks on Sundays, talking to the elders, handling issues the elders can't handle themselves, like new elder appointments or deletions, that kind of thing. It was considered an honor to go knocking on doors with the circuit overseer. They'd rotate them to another circuit every so often, so you'd only get a few chances to go in service with one particular circuit overseer. And maybe this is me viewing the situation through the biased lens I had when I was little, but every circuit overseer I ever worked with was the nicest and most genuine dude alive. They were genuinely good guys, every time. One time I went knocking on doors with one of them, who happened to be in his 60s or 70s. I was like 10. So we go up to the door and knock, and we hear a garage door opening and a dog barking. We start running to the car. This 10-year-old kid and a 70-year-old man. Some jagoff released their dogs on a senior citizen and a child. Please don't do that shit. Anyways, let me get to the point. Every circuit overseer I ever worked with was so extremely genuine and nice, but the governing body members straight up look and act like weasels. Every one of them. Why is that? They're genuinely nice Jehovah's Witnesses. Why are the governing body members a pack of weasels? I don't get it. Just look at these guys. Tony Morris talks about how tight pants are part of the agenda non-stop. Jeffrey Jackson notoriously lied under oath. Stephen Lett. I could see this guy being genuinely nice, but there's something broken in him. I'm convinced of it. His speech mannerisms are straight up fucking creepy. That's only 3 of the 8, but they're all weird in their own way. I guess weasels always find their way to the top. Anyways, let's continue with the video.
Think of the righteous man Noah. Genesis 6:9 says that Noah walked with the true God. There's no doubt that Jehovah was with Noah. He preserved him and his family through the flood. Afterward, Jehovah further proved he was with Noah. In Genesis chapter 9, Jehovah said, I am now establishing my covenant with you. Never again will all flesh be destroyed by the waters of a flood. Jehovah could have made that determination and promised himself that he wouldn't do that again. But instead, he reached out to Noah and reassured him that he was with him by making the rainbow covenant with Noah and his offspring.
Oh, the rainbow covenant, you say? That sounds like a fun covenant. Why would God promise to not do it again? Does he regret doing it in the first place? Does he think maybe taking out all life on Earth except like 6 people might have been overkill? Is that why he made the alleged rainbow covenant? I thought God didn't make mistakes. Nothing about this is consistent. And for that matter, did the rainbow not exist pre-flood? Did the sun not shine through water droplets? Did light not refract through water? Which part of physics was on hold pre-flood?
We interact with different types of people in our daily life, at work and at school. Some of them can be intimidating. at times we may come across someone who is angry and may even be threatening. This is the time to remember Jeremiah. Though initially timid, he courageously faced the challenge of an intimidating response. How did he rally to the occasion? It was because Jehovah had reassured him, "I am with you."
This is extremely fascinating. You can see the tactics they're using to push their members further into the religion every time they feel persecuted. They believe they're doing something good. They believe they're helping people. They think they're doing the right thing. And anytime somebody gets hostile with them, which is surprisingly often, they use that experience to reaffirm their beliefs. They only feel like they're more correct about it. Like when I was that 10-year-old kid being chased by dogs with the circuit overseer. It made me even more sure that I was correct. Obviously, I found my way out of it eventually. But getting hostile with these people is the wrong way to go. You might just be the reason why that person and the generations of kids who come after them never leave the religion. So be careful how you treat them. Our goal should be to help them exit, and being rude doesn't further that goal. Anyways, let's continue.
As prophesied during this time of the conclusion of the system, we are being persecuted in different areas of the world. As the scriptures show, Satan and his angels are misleading the entire inhabited earth. Recently, Jehovah's people have been persecuted in Russia. But will the persecution succeed in eliminating true worship in that area of the world? No. Why not? It's because Jehovah is with them. He and Jesus promised, "I am with you."
First, let's just take a second, just sit right there, and let me tell you how he became the prince of a town called Bel Air. Nah, I'm joking. Let's take a minute to admire the eyebrows of this dude. That is downright impressive. It's something to be proud of, if pride wasn't strictly banned by the religion. Anyways, here comes the persecution complex in full swing. In their defense, they are legitimately being persecuted in Russia, but they're convinced that means the end of the world is here. They're using this persecution in Russia to convince people that things are increasingly more dire. In reality, Russia is just doing what Russia does, and by doing so, they're convincing generations of Jehovah's Witnesses that the end is right around the corner. They're using this to fearmonger and make people even more sure they're correct. In Russia's defense, though, Jehovah's Witnesses would be saying the same stuff anyways. It's just that they're handing them the propaganda they needed to get people to believe it more readily. Now, this next bit is pretty interesting. Give it a listen.
God with us? Those words have decorated national emblems and even the uniforms of soldiers of Prussia and the Tsarist Russian Empire. These words were also on the belts of German troops when they marched into Belgium in the year 1914 of our common era. But they had it wrong. The sovereign Lord Jehovah was with us, not with them.
That's funny. That's exactly what they were saying at the time. Are you saying God won World War II for you? I mean, how many people suffered during that time? Why didn't he help them? If he was going to help at all, why didn't he do it before anybody suffered? And before you say, well, if he had prevented any suffering, how would we know he did anything at all? I'll tell you. He could just tell us what he did. Enter everybody's mind all at once and say, I'm real and I stopped this big thing from happening. Are you trying to tell me the dude wants to play coy and pretend he doesn't exist? God wants you to think he exists, but he doesn't want to give enough evidence for somebody of sound mind to believe it. It's like somebody in a relationship saying, I don't want to tell you why I'm mad. I just want you to know why I'm mad. How the holy am I supposed to know what you're mad about if you don't tell me? Why don't you just come out and say it? Why doesn't God just come out and tell us that he's real? I don't understand. Why play games with it? Why leave everything up to interpretation? It's ridiculous. On another note, I find it super interesting that they're talking about the belt buckles on the German troops in the 1940s. Most religious people like to claim that they were nationally atheist. I always use the belt buckles as an example of why Christians are full of it when they claim the leader in Germany during the 40s was atheist. But funny enough, I was driving along the other day and I saw a mechanic shop on the side of the road with a giant sign that said, God be with us. I thought about calling them and saying, you know that's what German soldiers' belt buckles said in the 1940s, right? That would probably be sufficient motivation to make them change the sign, but I decided not to. Not worth my time. Still bothers me though. Let's continue.
He's with all of us now. He'll be with us during Armageddon. He'll be with us after Armageddon. He'll be with us at the end of the 1,000-year reign of Christ. He'll be with mankind at the end of 100,000 years. He'll be with humans at the end of 100 million years, and at the end of 100 million years times 100 million years.
100 million years squared, huh? I hope he doesn't decide to play coy and pretend he doesn't exist again when the sun burns out in 5 billion years, but based on his previous pattern of behavior, I don't expect much else. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to make sure I can continue to do it, you can support me in a few ways. First, you can support me on Patreon. That's probably the best way. But if you want to get something back for your support, you can check out my Teespring. I'm trying to make a shirt design for every cult I've covered. I haven't gotten every one, but I'm working on it. So check it out and see if your cult is up there. Second, you can support me by checking out my game shop. I sell controller, cartridge, and game box stands for every system from the original Nintendo and Sega Game Gear to the Xbox One and Nintendo Switch. So give that a look too. And finally, if you want to support me in some way other than monetarily, you can check out my other YouTube channels. I have a retro game channel where I answer questions like, why does Shy Guy have a mask? And why are CRT TVs the best way to play retro games? I also have the podcast where I talk about stuff I don't feel I can say on a monetized channel. And finally, I have my main channel where I talk about cults. I wish I didn't have to worry about dancing around subjects carefully in the first place, but I chose to do this as a full-time job, so unfortunately I rely on YouTube's AdSense and on the support of patrons to continue doing the work I do. Anyways, check me out in all those places if you haven't already. Thanks for listening, guys.